Magandang araw mga kapitek. Ako po si Sir Willie, ang inyong lead trainer para sa NCAS Review at narito na naman po ang isang episode ng ating review na tiyak ay marami po kayong matututunan. Good luck po sa inyong lahat na mga future school principals.
Good afternoon, magandang hapon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Sir.
So I suppose na lahat kayo ay nandito ulit sa group. This will be the third and the last of the session. And then by the next meeting, we're going to have your evaluation na, no? I'll be giving the go signal kung kailan ito gagawin. But ang importante ay matapos natin ngayong araw yung ating discussion. We'll be able to finish our lecture series, no? This will be the third installment and will be the last of the series of lectures na ginawa natin, no? I would like to ask everyone to please write your name and your, again, the last time that I asked you to write your name and your course in the chat box so that since this is recorded, it can be recorded, no? I mean, I can get the transcript, no, of the copy. Yes, thank you. So please use the chat box for your name and your course. All right. So again, we are on the third installment, and what we're going to have today will be the last topic. I'm going to present to you now yung wait lang . Hindi ko makita yung aking. Alright, cancel it. My drive. Cancel. Share. Window. Yeah. Alright, can you confirm na nakikita na yung ating screen sa ngayon?
Yes po, sir.
Confirm, yes. Thank you. And we are now, okay. We're now going to start with our discussion. This will be until 4 o'clock, ano? Until 4 o'clock tayo ngayong araw. My audio is clear. Okay ba? Naririnig ba ako? May background noise ba ako or wala?
Okay naman po, sir.
Okay, loud and clear naman. All right, sige. We're going to continue with our discussion on the writing of the different types of tests. Again, from our previous discussion, we have talked about the different types of the different conditions and the different criteria or guidelines in the development of the different types of tests. And more specifically, our discussion focused on focused on the comparison of the PBA or the authentic assessment with that of the traditional type of assessment. And we also have covered the different categories, no, of performance-based assessment, more especially the different types of targets that will be assessed and what particular assessment method, no, will be applicable in the measurement of all of these targets or the skills. No? And we have concluded that there is no particular assessment method that will be able to assess 100%, no, in terms of validity and reliability among the different targets. So meaning may mga specific tayo na mga assessment methods na applicable lamang, no, dun sa ating hinihingi na target or mini-measure na target. Like say for example, kung ang target mo ay about skills, then meron kang particular corresponding assessment method na po pwede mong magamit, no? Like say for example, pag sinabi nga natin na pag sinabi po ninyo na ang target ay skill, pwede kang gumamit ng performance-based assessment, whether a process-oriented or a product-oriented type of assessment, no? So this time, ang focus naman natin ngayon will be yung development, no, the development ng iba't ibang klase ng written type na test, no. So in here, ang nakalagay sa inyong screen ay yung mga specific suggestions in writing the test. I-run down ko lang siya, pero since this will be given naman sa inyo at the end of the session ay i-share ko naman ito sa inyo, no. I'll try to give it. Okay. Problema ko kasi hinahanap ko yung aking soft copy, but this is in the Google Drive. I do not know how can I share to all of you this particular material, no? But I try to look for the soft copy nito na. Sige. So in the writing of the test, say for example, the supply test, tandaan natin, no, ito yung mga general guidelines niya that do not copy verbatim from the book, no, huwag tayong magkopya, huwag tayong mag-copy in toto, no, ng material. A direct question is better than an incomplete statement, no, huwag kang gagamit ng open-ended question. O hindi, ang nire-require lang naman ay gumamit ka ng WH questions over the incomplete statement. Okay? Blanks for answers should be equal in length. No? Answers before the number for easy checking. Mga general guidelines lang naman yan. In terms of the alternative response, kanina yung supply type yun, supply type. Ibig sabihin ito yung mga fill in the blanks. Ito naman ay yung mga alternative responses. Meaning, pag sinabi po ninyo na alternative, po pwedeng true or false, di ba? Right or wrong, mga ganong mga klase. So may alternate response na po pwedeng pagpilian out of the different questions na ibinigay, no? And in here, ang magiging category, ang mga descriptions natin dito will be to avoid broad or the trivial statements, no? Huwag kang gagamit ng mga trivial statements. Ano ba yung mga trivial statements, no? Baka pati tatanungin mo kung anong pinakapaboritong pagkain ni Jose Rizal, halimbawa ganun. Mga trivial na ang mga yun, no? Hindi ito ganun ka applicable or hindi ito ganun ka related dun sa mga competencies na you would like to focus on. So hangga't maaari, pag sinabi po natin ng development ng mga tanong, ang focus natin will be on the type of competency na gusto mo ma-develop or ma-measure. Huwag yung pumipili ka ng pagkadami-dami ng mga recall questions just for the purpose of putting trivia, no? So wag ganun. So avoid trivial statements, avoid the use of the negative statements, no? Again, yung paggamit ng negative statement ay na-avoid natin, lalo-lalo na yung paggamit ng tinatawag po natin na double negative, no? So natin yung statement, halimbawa, which of the following are the parts of the cell except. No, pag gumamit ka ng term na except, yung tanong na yun ay tinatawag na natin na negative statement. Pag gumamit ka ng not, ito rin ay isa ng klase ng tinatawag na negative statement. Kung iniiwasan ng negative statement, ang wag mong gagamitin ay double negative. Ibig sabihin, gumagamit ka na ng two negative terms in one statement. So halimbawa, ang tanong mo ay which of the following is not a part of the cell except. Ayan, meron ka ng term na not, meron ka pang term na except in one statement. Kaya tinatawag ito na double negative. So avoid long and complex sentence. You have to be very careful in the phrasing of the material. Huwag kang gumamit ng pagkahaba-habang mga tanong, no? Direct to the point ang paggawa ng statement natin. Okay, avoid including two ideas in one statement unless cause-effect relationship is being measured, no? If opinion is used, attribute it to some sources unless the ability to identify opinion is being specifically measured. Okay. Next, the number of true statements and false should be approximately equal, and you always start with the false statement. No? Hindi naman common ito na hindi naman written by the book, kumbaga. So in the matching type, gumamit ka ng homogeneous material. Pag sinabi po ninyo na homogeneous material, we refer to singular topic that will be covered in one matching type exercise. Okay? Kung ang iyong matching type ay may kinalaman kay noun lahat. Huwag kang magagamit ng iba pang mga other topics aside from the noun. Kung yan ang topic mo. Okay? Kung yun namang matching type mo ay particularly measured lamang doon sa mga topic na may kinalaman sa cell lang, no? Or kung may kinalaman ito kung may kinalaman ito in one particular topic, yun lamang ang magiging cover ng iyong matching type. Huwag ka nang magdagdag ng iba para maging homogeneous yung material mo. Include an unequal number of responses. Alam na natin ito. You have more choices from the question. And keep the list of the items matched and arrange the responses in the logical order. Place all the items for one matching exercise on the same page. Huwag kang gagamit or huwag kang gagawa ng matching type na yung kalahati ng matching type exercise mo ay nakalagay sa kabilang page. It will be mahirap yun sa part ng iyong mga estudyante. For the multiple choice naman, almost the same yung mga guidelines na kailangan natin natandaan. Anyway, ang focus lang naman na yung titignan dito ay ano yung mga principle involved in the writing of the test. No? Una, the stem of the item should be meaningful by itself and should present a definite problem. Pangalawa, the stem should be free from irrelevant material. Okay. So whatever are the focus, no, the needed to be measured, yun lang ilalagay mo in the statement. Huwag kang magdadagdag, magpapad ng panggulo lamang ng mga statements. Use negatively stated item only when significant learning outcomes require it. Kanya nga sabi ko nga kanina, ang isang guideline natin ay bihira kang gumamit ng negative statement. Kapag gagamit ka, sparingly lang, pero huwag palagian na laging may negative statement ka. Make the options grammatically consistent with the stem. Kung ang choices mo ay plural, then dapat ang ending ng statement mo ay are. Kung singular naman ang ending or singular naman ang iyong mga sagot, ibig sabihin dapat mag-i-end ka kay is, halimbawa lang kung yun ang tanong mo. So is blank or are blank. Okay? So yan yun, grammatically consistent. Kasi yung kapag ang bata na pilosopo ay sinabi niya sa'yo, nakita niya yung leak na yon or something na pwede niyang i-argue, then oo nga naman, di ba? Hindi ka makakahindi doon sa bata because tama naman yung argument. An item should have one correct answer and all the structures should be possible. Meaning, magkakalapit. No? Kung ang tinatanong mo ay kung sino ang sumulat ng El Filibusterismo, kailangan, kung si Jose Rizal lang isa sa mga choices mo, kailangan lahat ng mga choices mo ay mga Filipinos din. Huwag kang gagamit ng iba pang mga authors. Otherwise, hindi magiging plausible yung iyong mga options. Relative length of options should not give a clue to the correct answer. There is always a saying na kapag mahaba yung mga choices, yun daw yung tamang sagot. So we need to remove that notion. Okay? Use of special alternatives should be done sparingly. Ano bang ibig sabihin nitong mga special alternatives? So pag sinabi mo na special alternatives, ito yung mga all of the above, all of the choices, none of the choices, yan. Mga special alternatives po ang tawag natin dito. Kung maiiwasan mo, ay huwag mong gagamitin. In order to make your the quality of the material become even more valid. Okay. Next, for the essay type naman, restrict the use of the essay questions to those learning of outcomes that cannot be measured by objective items and indicate the approximate time limit or the number of points for each question and present the rubric in scoring the responses before the test will be given. Ibig sabihin, kapag ka magme-measure or pag mag-i-score ka ng isang essay test, make sure that the essay test is meron kang corresponding na rubrics na gagamitin mo. And that is usually a type of anong klaseng rubric yan. Ito ay isang holistic. No? Pwede kang gumamit ng tinatawag natin na holistic na rubrics. Alright? Bigla 71 na kayo ngayon. Ibig sabihin may mga nadadagdag. I just don't know, no? Again, let me remind yung mga kararating lang to please key in your answer, your name and your course, no, in the chat box, no, para ma-capture ko po ang inyong attendance. All right. What else? Tignan natin yung susunod. Essay type pa rin. Ayan. Okay, so now we go to the session number 3. This will include the item analysis and validation. Ano ba yung mga kailangan natin na gawin? Kanina, nung unang mga discussion natin about the preliminary, session 1 natin yun. Session 2 talks about the different targets, and now and the different guidelines that are supposed to be included in the development of the different materials. Now we go into session 3, and that is the item analysis and validation. So kung meron ka ng nagawa na mga material, in-administer mo na yung testing material mo or yung measurement material mo, anong susunod na gagawin ng isang teacher? Siyempre, a-analyze mo na yung mga sagot. You will need to analyze the outcome. You will need to interpret it later, and it will be used as a basis for judgment. Okay? Now, under session number 3, item analysis. Alright? So for item analysis, meron kang index of difficulty and then the index of discrimination. And then for the third naman, at the second naman, we have the properties of the assessment methods, including the validity, reliability, objectivity, practicality, and efficiency. Tingnan muna natin yung mga criteria needed for a good test. Dalawang klase ng criteria ang kailangan mong tignan. Una, validity, at ang pangalawa naman ay yung reliability. Okay? So dalawang bagay po 'yan na lagi mong babaunin pag tinatanong ka kung ano nga ba yung mga criteria for a good test. And we talk about the test in general, not only for the written type of test or the written response instruments, but also the other types of tests, including the performance-based assessment material. So kapag validity ang pinag-uusapan natin, validity refers to the degree to which the test measures what is intended to measure, and it is the usefulness of the test material for a given purpose. It is also the most important criterion for a good examination. And a validity coefficient should be at least 0.5, but preferably higher. So in the LET, kapag binigyan ka po ng situation na kung saan pipili ka ng you will be choosing, no, kung anong particular you'll be choosing kung anong particular criterion ang iyong pipiliin between validity and reliability. You always have to go with validity. Ang validity will always dictate that the material is reliable. But a reliable test will not always give you a valid material. Okay? Kaya nga tandaan po ninyo yun, between validity and reliability, it should be validity ang mangingibabaw, no? And the validity coefficient should be at least 0.5, but preferably higher. So in the LET, ibinibigay sa iyo yung mga numbers, ibinibigay sa iyo yung mga conditions, ang gagawin mo diyan ay interpret mo. So kapag ang binigay na coefficient ng validity ay higher than 0.5, then that means that that material is valid. Pero kapag lower than 0.5 yan, then there's a problem with the validity, and therefore hindi papasa yung material na tinutukoy. Alright, next. We also have, syempre kung may validity, merong mga factors that will influence the validity of the test. Una, appropriateness, syempre directions, reading vocabulary. Pag sinabi po natin na appropriateness, this is something to do with the use of the proper assessment method. So kung yung target mo ay all about remembering or all about recall of facts, then gumamit ka ng objective type of test. That makes it valid. Pero pag ang iyong mini-measure ay may kinalaman kay yung ability to evaluate or ability to critically analyze, then gumamit ka ng essay type, halimbawa. So that makes it valid. Yan yung tinatawag natin na appropriateness. Yung binigay natin na table kanina, yun po yung supposedly na pwede natin na magamit as a measure of validity. Reading vocabulary and sentence structure should also be included, and the difficulty of items should be between 0.26 hanggang 0.75. That is the right difficulty. Lower than 0.26 is already too difficult, and higher than 0.75 is already too easy. So do not give, if the material or if the test question will give you the data that it is around 0.20 or lower than 0.25, then that is already too difficult. No? And kapag naman 0.78 or higher than 0.75, then that is already too easy and hindi rin ito magiging valid. Okay, next. Meron pang ibang factors, no, na po pwede natin na makita dito, kagaya ng discrimination index. Ang acceptable discrimination index ng valid test ay nasa 0.46 and above. So ang highest naman dyan ay 1. So lower than 0.46 is already questionable. So kailangan dalawang bagay ang tinitingnan mo doon, the validity index at saka yung discrimination index. Again, ulitin ko ha, yung validity index 0.26 hanggang 0.75. Kapag discrimination index naman ay 0.46 hanggang 1. You've learned this na in your assessment of learning topic na nung kinompute ninyo ang discrimination index, pwede kang makakuha ng negative na discrimination. Kapag negative po yung discrimination, ibig sabihin, hindi pumasa yung material na yon. No? The material cannot discriminate between who is really able to choose the correct answer because he knew the answer, but rather they were able to select yung the right answer because of yung probability lamang, not because they really know the answer or they are able to discriminate between yung mga magaling at saka yung mga hindi talaga magaling. Okay? Construction of the test items, kasama din dyan. Length of the test, arrangement of items, and the patterns of answers are all related in the determination of the validity. There are different ways on how you establish validity. Meron kang face validity, which is done by examining the physical appearance of the test. Kasama na diyan yung readability, yung font size, the font type na ginamit are all included under face validity. So ginagamit ito yung pinakaunang validity measure na ginagamit natin to before we deepen kung ano nga ba yung other ways on how we can establish validity ng isang material. Pangalawa, yung content validity, which is done through a careful and critical examination of the objectives of the test. Alright? And then syempre, yung content validity ay mari-reinforce yan kapag gumamit ka ng table of specifications. So, pag maipakita mo na yung iyong material or test material ay gumamit ng TOS, ang TOS is already an indicator na nami-meet na noong test material mo yung tinatawag natin na content validity. Siyempre, diyan papasok yung factors na ginagamit ng ating mga test experts para malaman nila kung sumusunod ka nga ba doon sa guidelines o hindi. Pangatlo po ay yung criterion-related validity, which is established statistically that a set of scores revealed by a test is correlated with the scores obtained in another external predictor or measure. Kung gumagamit ito ng iba pang mga indicators at ito po ay binibigyan ng time element bago po ma-establish yung tinatawag natin na criterion-related. So dalawang purposes ng criterion-related validity, meron kang concurrent at saka predictive. Pag concurrent validity, it will describe the present status of the individual by correlating the set of scores obtained from two measures given concurrently. Meaning kapag meron kang dalawang subjects, halimbawa mathematics, ang concurrent validity ay ginagawa kapag merong correlated na set of scores. So dalawang math subjects, so parang nagiging yung score mo doon sa pangalawa ay correlated doon sa pangalawa na set of scores so long as the two areas are related as well. Ang predictive naman describes the future performance of an individual by correlating the set of scores obtained from two measures given at a longer time interval. Kapag halimbawa yung predictive validity ay ginagamit kung magaling yung bata in mathematics during the high school, then uh, kapag i-establish yung predictive validity ng material, kailangan ay i-measure ito after, halimbawa, yung bata ay nag-college na. Halimbawa lang yan, ha? Uh, Kapag correlated yung set of materials na binigay mo or mataas ang correlation coefficient na nakita mo, then ibig sabihin nun, may establish ng material mo yung predictive validity niya, or the material can be able to predict yung future success ng individual in a certain subject. Okay? Ang construct validity naman ay established, no, statistically by comparing psychological traits or factors that theoretically influence scores in a test. Ginagamit ito usually ng ating mga professional item writers na may kinalaman sa different psychological traits, no. Meron kang convergent validity at saka meron kang divergent validity. Wait lang, plug in. Carbonara mo. Ganda. Carbonara ka mo? Carbonara. Okay, narinig ako. Sorry, medyo kumusta yung audio ko, Ma'am Charlene Sukila?
Sir, malinaw po.
Okay, maraming salamat.
Yes, sir.
We continue with of course, under construct validity yan, ha? Alright. Tingnan natin. The next character, syempre, tapos na tayo dun sa validity, ha? Tandaan nyo yan, validity is the most important character. Kapag ang material ay valid, it means that it is also reliable. Pero ang secondary nito will be reliability. Syempre, kailangan mong i-meet, no? Kahit na sabihin mo na ang valid test is always reliable, kailangan mo pa rin ng pruweba kung bakit ito reliable. So, gagamitin pa rin natin yung iba't ibang mga measures on how we can be able to establish yung reliability ng material. So, reliability refers to the consistency of the scores obtained by the same person when retested using the same instrument for one that is parallel to it. And reliability coefficient should be at least 0.70 but preferably higher than 0.70 dapat. So ano yung mga factors then that affects it? We have the length of the test. No? As a general rule, the longer the test, the higher the reliability. Ganon din yung validity. The longer the test, the higher the validity. Difficulty of the test, ideally, achievement test should be constructed such that the average score is 50% correct and the scores range from near zero to near perfect. Again, the bigger the spread of the test, the more reliable the measured difference is likely to be. And a test is reliable if the coefficient of correlation is not less than 0.85. Okay? Now, in the testing of the reliability, meron tayong iba't ibang mga methods, no? Nakalagay dyan sa table yung how many methods ba ito? I think there are 5, no? Sa pag-usapan natin ngayon, meron kang test retest, meron kang equivalent forms, and then the test retest with equivalent forms, split half, at saka yung KR or yung tinatawag natin na Puder-Richardson. Let's start with the test retest. Ang measure ng reliability na ito ay measure of stability. You will give the test twice to the same group with any time interval between tests from several minutes to several years. No? Ang statistical measure na ginagamit natin dyan ay person R or Spearman R. Okay? Ang factor naman, however, na nakakaapekto kay test retest ay yung paggamit ng ang nagiging problema ng test retest ay yung factor of memory. Kasi kapag na-memorize nung bata yung kanyang sagot, then hindi na yan mag-iisip kung anong sinagot niya nung una, yun na lang ilalagay niya na sagot. Kaya ang main critic, ang main problem ng test retest ay yung kanyang factor on memory. Okay, pangalawa, yung equivalent forms. Ang type of reliability measure nito ay measure of equivalence. The procedure is to give parallel forms of tests with close time intervals between forms, at Pearson R naman ang ginagamit na statistical formula. Okay? Parallel forms, ibig sabihin po ng parallel forms, pareho ng competency na mini-measure. Tama? Okay? Baka kasi hindi tayo pareho ng interpretation pag sinabi po ninyo ng parallel. No? Ang parallel, hindi ibig sabihin na pareho. Okay? Kung anong binigay mo na saktong material during the pretest, sabihin mo, parallel naman, yun na lang dati, no? Pangalawa na lang, idodoble ko na lang yung material. Hindi po. Okay? At hindi rin ibig sabihin na yung parallel ay nagpalit ka lang ng mga pangalan. Kung yung una mong tanong ay Pedro, ang pangalan ng karakter mo, okay? Si Pedro ay may 5 bayabas, no? At sa yung kaliwang kamay naman niya ay merong 2 ubas. So, ganyan. Tapos, in your parallel question, ay pinalitan mo lang si Pedro. Ginawa mong Pedra, no? At saka yung bayabas, pinalitan mo lang ng santol, pero parehas pa rin yung mga number. No? Hindi naman parallel yun, no? Same question lang yun. Palitan mo naman ng different strategy, pero pareho pa rin yung competence na mini-measure. Okay? So, yun ibig sabihin po ng parallel form or parallel type of test material. Alright. Next naman po ay yung test retest with equivalent forms. It's a measure of stability and equivalence. It will give parallel forms of test with increased time intervals between forms. Okay, so person R naman yan. So test retest and equivalent form. Meron ka ding tinatawag na split half. Ang split half, maganda din ito kasi hindi mo ibibigay yung test ng 2 beses. Rather, minsanan lang yung pagbigay mo ng test. It's a measure of internal consistency. Medyo related ang split half kay Kuder-Richardson. Ang KR or ang Kuder-Richardson formula ay dalawa yan. Pwedeng KR20 and pwedeng KR21. No? Have you tried computing KR during your AL? Sino kung nag-compute sa inyo ng KR20, KR21 nung kanilang AL1, AL2? AL1 more particularly.
Wala po.
Wala po. Sige, good luck. Ang KR po, tandaan ninyong mabuti ha. Sige, walang ano. Tandaan po ninyo, ay nako. Pit yung limak, magumpawaya adlet. Kaya sinasabi ko sa inyo, tandaan nyo itong reliability question na yan. 5 yan ha, na binigay ko, 5. Most likely, lalabas yung mga tanong na may kinalaman kay split half, kay KR, at saka kay test retest. Tandaan nyo yan. Ang test retest, ang problema niya, pwede siyang gamitin. Pero ang problema ng test retest kasi is the factor of memory. Kasi 2 beses ibibigay yung test sa kanya. Parehong-pareho yung material na gagamitin kay test retest. Kay split half at saka kay Kuder-Richardson, minsan lang po bibigay. No? Minsanan lang yung pagbigay ng material na yan. Pero mami-measure mo na kagad yung internal consistency. Kung split up ang gagamitin mo, you give the test once and then yung score equivalent nila, kukunin mo yung tigkalahati. No? Either add even. Karamihan naman yung when you arrange the test material from highest to lowest and then ginagawa mo ay you select the odd even. So lahat ng odd ilalagay mo sa kabila, yung lahat ng even ilalagay mo din sa kabila. And then yun yung i-measure mo, yun yung pagko-comparein mo silang dalawa. Alright? Hindi kagaya ng test retest na 2 beses mo. Same group, same material pero may interval, no? May interval ng time. Ito kay split half, kalahati, ang the other half will be considered as cluster 1 and then the other naman will be cluster 2. And then magkakaroon ng comparison yung dalawang test material na yon. Okay? Person R and Sperman-Brown formula ang ginagamit din. What about person or Sperman? Are you familiar? Have you tried computing for the Sperman formula? Sige. Silence means yes. LV. Kiana. Sperman formula, have you tried computing?
Yung person na
Meron. Meron ba? Hindi ko alam kung ako ang choppy or ano. Sige. Anyway, yan po ha ang split half method. Ang ginagamit po dyan ay person R and Sperman-Brown. Pag narinig mo po yung person R, Sperman, Kuder, ito yung mga statistical treatment na minimeasure yung correlation. No? Na minimeasure yung correlation. Tandaan niyo yan. Ngayon, tingnan natin yung KR. Kasi ang pinakamagandang measure po ng reliability ay KR. No? Yung KR20 at saka KR21. Although hindi naman i-require sa iyo sa LET na yung i-compute mo yung KR, pero ang importante dito, alam mo siyang i-interpret, no? Kagaya ng lahat ng mga measure of reliability, ang alam mo dapat na ito ay paano mo siya interpret, okay? Parehas sila ni split half na measure of internal consistency dahil minsan mo din lang ibibigay yung test. Okay, you give the test once, then correlate the proportion or the percentage of the students passing and not passing a given item. So kanina yung split half, add even yung comparison. Pero ngayon kay Kuder Richardson naman, i-compare natin yung mga nakakuha ng sagot at saka yung hindi nakakuha ng sagot. Alright, that is KR20. In terms of yung computation niya, madali lang naman siyang i-compute. Hindi naman very complicated siya na i-compute, basta alam mo lang na susundan yung mga processes. Alright? So, KR20 or KR21, parehas correlated yung dalawang yan. Mayroon lang a little difference in terms of how they will be used or be computed. Okay? Malinaw po? Malinaw ang reliability, ha? Sinasabi ko sa inyo, pag lumabas sa LET yan, or kapag yan ay hindi lumabas sa LET, sabihin nyo kay Sir Willie, Sir, wala kang hindi mo nabanggit na meron palang ganong klase ng tanong in the reliability. Hindi ko naman alam kung ano ibibigay sa LET. Pero alam ko lang na isa yan sa napakalaki na factor or napakalaki na competence no, pagdating dito sa interpretation ng mga test results. Okay? Sige. Factors affecting reliability, objectivity, administrability, economy, scorability, hindi ko na masyadong bibigyan ng focus yan. Yan, gusto ko dito, yung interpreting the reliability values. So tandaan ninyo, whether you use KR, whether you use Sperman, whether you use, person R, Sperman R, or person Brown formula, pare-parehas po ang magiging interpretation niya mamaya. Ito yung mga values na pwede nyo makuha. Kapag 0.90 and above, yung lumalabas po na reliability value, ito ay excellent reliability at the level of the best standardized test. Kapag 0.80 to 0.89, very good yung reliability kapag classroom test ang pinag-uusapan. Pag 0.70 to 0.79 yung lumalabas, that is good for a classroom test. Okay? In the range of most, and there are probably a few items which could be improved. So meaning, kapag bumaba ka na kay 0.70, 0.69 and below, ito'y mababa na talaga. Anong pwede mong gawin dyan? Yung material na yon, yung question mo na yon, ay kailangan mo talagang palitan. Okay? So ang acceptable lamang na reliability value ay nasa 0.70 and above. Pero kung ang pinag-uusapan natin ay level ng standardized test, then kailangan it should be 0.90 and above yung value. Clear? Maliwanag po ito? Okay. Other factors to consider when constructing the good test items. Yan. Administrability. Nabanggit ko na kanina yan. Ability to be administered. Siyempre, easier the better. Scorability, appropriateness, adequacy, fairness, and the objective. Okay. Mabilisan lang na discussion about the TOS. It's a device for describing the test items in the terms of content and the process dimensions, and it will ensure that the test items will have content validity. In the item analysis naman, dalawa ang tinitingnan natin dito, the discriminating power at saka yung kanyang difficulty of the item. Okay? So, ang simplified procedure po natin ng item analysis ay yung UL method, no? Pero hindi po University of Luzon yan, ha? UL method means the upper and the lower method yan. Upper group and the lower group method. So, ina-arrange natin into highest to lowest ang mga scores, and then kinukuha natin yung 1/3, upper 1/3, and the lower 1/3. Hindi po natin gagamitin yung 2/3 middle. Okay, and then from there, ay i-compute po natin yung index of difficulty at saka yung index of discrimination. Okay? Ayan. So, in the interpretation of the index of difficulty, tandaan natin ito, 0.25, difficult. Anong gagawin? You need to revise or you need to discard the item. Pag 0.26 to 0.75, it's the right difficulty, then you need to retain the item. Pag 0.76 and above, very easy yung item, then kailangan mo siyang i-revise or i-discard. Kapag index of discrimination naman, kapag negative po yung index of discrimination, kailangan mong i-discard. Okay? Kapag ka naman negative 0.55 to 0.45 non-discrimination, kailangan mo siyang i-revise. Ang acceptable na discrimination index ay 0.46 to 1. Matanong ko lang, dinaanan nyo ba ang gumawa ng index ng item analysis? Mabilis ang sagot. Did you try did you experience computing the item analysis of the test material? Yes or no? Angelica Gabriel, yes. Nasubukan mo ba? Hindi, wala. Sige, silence means yes. Okay, si Shino Okbo umalis sa meeting. Yan. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Alright, sige ha. Ilan na ba tayo? 63. Kanina 71 yan. Ngayon ay ano na lang. 63 na lang. Okay, sige tuloy tayo. Acceptable discrimination index 0.46 hanggang 1. Okay. Now, tingnan na naman natin itong interpretation. Nandito na tayo sa pag-interpret ng scores. Kaya after the discrimination index, ang isang napaka-importante na factor na kailangan nating bigyan ng pansin ay yung information from a normal curve. Ang topic na ito ay may kinalaman po sa pagitan or sa topic between criterion reference and then the norm reference grading. Ano ba ang pagkakaiba ng norm referencing at saka criterion referencing? Una, pag-usapan natin yung norm. So pag sinabi mong norm, ito yon, no? Information on the normal curve. Ang norm reference grading, ibig sabihin, within the group, meron kang ma-determine na upper group at may mga lower group ka na tinatawag. So yung mga upper group mo, sila yung mga above the mean, ang kanilang scores, at sila yung makakakuha ng matataas na grade, interpretation ng grade. Pero meron ka ding nasa gitna na grupo, ito yung kumbaga bulk of the distribution nasa gitna, and then meron kang mga mabababa, ilang mga scores na mabababa. So ibig sabihin nun, kung ipa-plot natin yan in a graph, ang lalabas diyan, if it is a standard type of distribution, then ang tawag po natin doon ay normal curve. Okay, can you see the numbers within the curve? Nakikita niyo po ba yung scores niya? Kung anong ibig sabihin ng normal interpretation, the normal curve interpretation. Okay? Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng normal curve. Meron kang bulk of the distribution na nasa 34%, one standard deviation above the mean, at saka meron kang 34% din na the bulk of the distribution falling below one standard deviation below the mean. Ibig sabihin, mula doon kay mean, pababa, meron kang 34%, and one standard deviation above the mean, meron ka ding another 34% for a total of 68%. In the normal distribution, therefore, meron kang 68% na distribution between negative 1 SD to positive 1 SD. Ano yung SD? Standard deviation. Alright? Again, tinutumbok ko na dito yung standard deviation ha. Again, ang understanding ko ay natapos na po kayo niyan, no, na na-discuss niyo po kung anong ibig sabihin ng standard deviation. Ang standard deviation ay isang measure that will determine the distribution, how far the scores are with one another. It's a measure of dispersal. It's a measure of dispersion. Tinitingnan natin kung gaano kalalayo yung scores ng bawat isa. So the higher the standard deviation, ibig sabihin the higher the distance, no? Statistically between one score to another. So kapag ibig sabihin yung kanilang mga scores ng klase mo ay may mga extreme high at saka meron ka ding mga extreme low. Pero kapag mababa yung standard deviation mo, meaning magkakalapit yung mga scores. Karamihan ng mga nakakuha or nag-take ng exam ay nandun magkakalapit ang kanilang mga interpretation. You have to remember sa LET, okay? In the LET, ang alam ko diyan sa LET, ito ay ginagamitan ng norm referencing, no? Norm referencing. Hindi po nangangahulugan na ang score mo ay corresponding dun sa actual score mo dun sa exam. Hindi po, no? Merong interpretation na ginagawa diyan. Kanya nga nagkakaroon yan ng percentile ranking, nirarank ka according to the percentile, depende sa grupo. Kaya nga kapag normal curve or norm reference interpretation, medyo problemado ka kapag yung mga kasabayan mong nag-exam talagang magagaling. Kasi hahatakin nila yung passing percentage doon sa mataas, no? Medyo mataas yung passing interpretation. Imagine mo kung ang grupo mo, halimbawa lang ha, yung isang section, ilagay natin sa konteksto ng classroom. Kapag norm referencing niya, meron tayong tinatawag na problem of equivalency. Okay? Si Pedro ay nasa section 1. Ang score ni Pedro sa exam ay 35. Okay? Pero karamihan ng kaklase ni Pedro, ang score nila, dahil magagaling yun, nasa section 1, ang average score, ang mean score ng mga kaklase ni Pedro ay 40 out of 50. So if you're going to interpret the score of Pedro, is it above the mean or below the mean? Kung 35 yung kanyang score, ang raw score niya ay 35, pero ang mean ng klase niya ay 40. How will you interpret the score of Pedro? Below the mean or above the mean?
Below.
Okay, sabi ni Kiana, below the mean. Definitely, 40 ang mean So, 35 ang score ni Pedro, below the mean. So, meaning, kung titignan mo yung score ni Pedro, ang interpretation nun ay mababa. Kasi ang mean niya 40 So, ang magiging equivalent grade ni Pedro doon, lower. No? Lower than the mean Pero kung ilagay mo yung score ni Pedro na nasa 35, ipagpalagay mo na si Pedro ay nasa section 108. Sabihin mo na nasa last section siya. At ang score ni Pedro ay 35. Pero ang mean ng grupo ng nasa section 108 ay 20. Ilan ang score ni Pedro? 35. Pero ang mean ng klase niya ay 20. How will you now interpret the score of Pedro? Below the mean or above the mean?
Above.
Above the mean. Meaning, mataas ang magiging equivalent score sana ni Pedro. Nagkakaintindihan po ba tayo? Okay? I hope nakukuha niyo yung ibig kong sabihin. I have no time to discuss everything to you, pero I assume na meron na kayong idea sa comparison between a norm reference grading at saka yung tinatawag natin na criterion reference grading. Ang pinaka-problema kay norm ay meron siyang problem of equivalency. Okay? which is not the case kapag gumamit ka ng criterion. Kasi kung meron kang score na 35 at yung score na 35 na yon ay sasabihin mong meron kang definitive na formula for interpretation, then ang tawag mo doon ay criterion reference. Kung ang sinabi mo ay 75% passing, kukunin mo lang yung equivalent ni Pedro. Kung 35 divided by 50 times 100, tignan mo kung ito ay umabot ng 75%. Tama? Ang tawag po ng interpretation na yon ay criterion reference. Okay? So walang kinalaman ang grupo ni Pedro sa kanyang grade. Hindi porket si Pedro ay nasa section 1, ang 35 na score niya ay iba ang equivalent grade compared mo kapag ilalagay mo siya sa last section. Nakakaintindihan? Okay? Norm referencing po ang tawag kapag apektado ng grupo ang individual interpretation ng grade ng bawat member. Pero kapag ang pinag-uusapan natin ay specific criterion or exact criterion, then criterion reference po yun. Walang kinalaman po yung performance ng group sa individual interpretation ng scores. Alright? So again, kapag norm reference po ang ginagamit po natin na pag pinag-usapan po natin yan at gumamit po yung examination question ng normal curve, automatic, alam niyo na kaagad yan na ang normal curve ay naaayon sa norm reference grading. Ang normal curve ay merong mga standardized scores. Pwede kang gumamit ng percentile rank, pwede kang gumamit ng T-score, pwede kang gumamit ng Z-score. Okay? So, depende yan kung anong gagamitin mo na interpretation formula. Ulitin ko na naman. Kapag po ang sagot or ang tanong sa LET ay may kinalaman po sa pag-interpret ng score at ginagamit ng question yung terms like normal curve, percentile rank, T-score, Z-score, yan. Pag yun po yung ginagamit, automatically alam mo na dapat na ito ay nasa normal curve at ito ay nasa norm reference grading. Okay? That's the best I can give you na interpretation dyan para po magamit ninyo mamaya in terms of how you interpret it. Other terms ay yung skewness, no? Syempre kapag norm reference yan, pwede mong ma-determine yung shape of the frequency polygon na tinatawag. So in this case, meron kang negatively skewed, meron kang normal at meron kang positively skewed. Ang skewness, ibig sabihin po ng skewness ay kung saan yung tapering, no? Saan yung tail. Alright, in the negatively skewed, saan mo makikita yung tail? You can see the tail right on the left side. Okay? So meaning, yung mode is relatively higher than the median and the median is relatively higher than the mean. Yan po yung negatively skewed. Tandaan po ninyo yan. Yan po yung napaka-importanting mga data na pwede nyo makuha. Negative yung direction ng tail. Tapering niya ay negative. The mode is higher than the mean. The mode is higher than the median. And the median is higher than the mean. Okay? Pero kapag normal po, the mean, median, and mode are all located or equivalent to one single number. Okay? Pag positively skewed naman, ito ay, ang mean is higher than the median and the median is higher than the mode. Okay? Kung titignan nyo po yung interpretation ng mga scores. So you can see it there kung paano po ninyo po pwedeng ma-interpret ito later on, ha? So ano ba bang pwedeng makuha from a negatively skewed at saka positively skewed? Relatively, pag negatively skewed, most of the scores are higher than the mean. High-performing group po ang ibig sabihin yan. Magagaling ang yung mga bata na nandyan kasi yung scores ng mga bata within that class ay most of them located higher than the mean. Okay. Pag positively skewed naman, low-performing group kasi most of the scores fall below the mean. No, below the mean. Mabababa yung scores nila. Okay? Most of the scores are falling below the mean kapag ka positively skewed. All right? I hope na nasusundan niyo pa rin yung sinasabi ko. The shapes of the frequency polygon pa rin parehas na naman yan. Okay? Now, another form of yung frequency polygon na description ay yung tinatawag naman na kurtosis. It has something to do with the peakness of the frequency polygon. Kapag high peak, ito ay leptokurtic positive. Pag relatively flat, platykurtic ang tawag. And then kapag mesokurtic, kung ito ay normal curve. So under the normal curve, mesokurtic po ang tawag doon. Ang kanyang kurtosis ay 0, pero pag ang kurtosis niya ay positive, then leptokurtic ito. Pag negative yung kanyang kurtosis, ito naman ay platykurtic. Okay? Sige. May tanong po ba so far? Ito, last na ito, malapit na. This will be the last topic. No? I will no longer cover yung assessment in the K-12 dahil kumbaga bago naman ito at hindi naman ito usually nagkakaroon ng validation. No? Dahil pabago-bago yung interpretation na ginagamit ng DepEd. But in terms of the principles of assessment, hanggang dito po kay session number 4 no, ang pag-uusapan natin. Okay. So under session 4, we will be talking about the different statistical concepts as applied in the assessment of learning. Una, we'll be talking about the measure of central tendency. Pangalawa, measure of variation or dispersion, point measures, and the measure of correlation. So 4 types of measurement scales, you know that already, nominal, ordinal, interval, and then the ratio. Kapag nominal, groups and labels data, ang characteristics niya, kagaya ng, halimbawa, gender, meron kang 1 male, 2 female, yan, nominal yan, ang character. Pag ordinal naman, ordering, no, ranking data. So, halimbawa, low, average, high, ordinal yon. Kapag interval, the distance between points are equal and there's no absolute 0 point. No? Test scores and temperature, a score of 0 in a test does not mean no knowledge at all. Halimbawa lang. And then the ratio naman, all of the above except that it has an absolute 0 point. Halimbawa, the height and the weight. Now, let's look into the measure of central tendency and variability. Pinagsama na yan for purpose of discussion para makuha po natin. Halimbawa lang, if the frequency distribution is regular, normal, symmetrical, or usually when the data are numeric under the interval or ratio, ang appropriate statistical tool na po pwede po nating magamit ay mean, pag-measure of central tendency. At standard deviation naman kapag measure of variability. Ang measure of central tendency describes the representative value of a set of data. So, in one distribution, ang mean will represent the value of the entire distribution. Pag measure of variability naman, ang mini-measure natin ay, ang ginagamit natin ay ang standard deviation. It describes the degree of spread or dispersion of a set of data. Ayan. Okay? Ang standard deviation. Kapag ka naman skewed, irregular ang distribution, and when the data is ordinal, ang gagamitin po natin na measure of central tendency ay median. Kapag measure of variability naman, ang gagamitin po natin ay quartile deviation. Okay, median. Halimbawa, income distribution, usually ordinal yan, and ginagamit, kung skewed yung distribution niya, ang ginagamit po talaga natin ay median. Mahirap pong gamitin yung mean because it will deviate, no? It will not be a representative number of the income distribution. So usually kapag ordinal, nakarank, and there is an irregular distribution, ang gagamitin po natin na central tendency ay median. When the distribution of score is normal and quick answer is needed, gumamit ka po ng mode, at kapag measure of variability naman ay range ang gagamitin po natin. Alright, next we have the point measures. Ang point measures naman, we divide, meron tayong tatlo, no? Mabilisan lang po ito na ibibigay ko. Ang point measures po ay pwede kang gumamit ng quartile, meron kang decile, meron kang percentile. Pag quartile, 4 equal divisions. Kapag decile naman, there will be 10 equal divisions. And kung percentile ay 100 equal divisions. Kapag po sa LET, ang interpretation ng inyong mga scores ay nakalagay po sa percentile ranking. Okay? Percentile ranking. Ang ibig sabihin po nun, ang lalabas sa LET results ninyo mamaya ay hindi naman necessarily your row score, but it will be the percentile rank of your score. Okay po ba? Halimbawa, there will be kinukumpile lahat yung scores ninyo from the different areas of the LET. And then pag na-combine na yon, nakita yung ranking mo, nilalagay po yon sa tinatawag natin na percentile ranking. Okay? Ayan. So 100 equal divisions. Kung yung score mo ay nandoon ka sa ano bang passing ngayon? 75 pa rin? Or 80 na? Anong passing ng LET?
75 pa rin po ata, sir.
75% passing, halimbawa, ibig sabihin yung nandun ka sa 75th rank, yung equivalent ng iyong score. Okay? Kaya nga kapag ka mag-i-aim ka, pagka nagdadasal ka, Charlene, pag magdadasal ka na maglilit, sabihin mo na, Lord, mag-top notcher sana ako. Yan. Yun lagi ang hilingin mo. No? Kasi pag medyo nakaidlip ng konti si Lord at medyo nakaligtan niya siguro, ay, iningi pala ni Charlie na mag-top notcher. No? Tapos, ito na lang ibibigay ko sa kanya. At least, pumasa ka pa rin, di ba? Hindi ka man nag-top notch, ay papasa ka pa rin. No? So you really, you have to aim na ikaw ay maging top notcher ng iyong kwan. Okay? Para medyo malaki-laki yung bulk na po pwede mo makuha mamaya. Kapag percentile ranking yan, ang ini-interpret ngayon ay yung score equivalent mo. Yung row score mo, inilalagay into a percentile ranking. Next, measure of correlation. Medyo marami na ako nabanggit sa measure of correlation kanina. Person R, Spearman R, yan. Hindi ko na ito, ayan, no? Spearman rank correlation or the Spearman row, ginagamit yan. Person product movement or person R, ito yung ginagamit din natin. Okay, and then the correlation values, nabanggit ko na rin ito kapag 0 to positive or negative 20, negligible yung correlation. Pag 0.21 to 0.40, ito ay low or slight correlation. Marked or moderate, kung ito ay 41 to 70. 71 to 90 ay high correlation. 91 to 99 naman ay very high correlation. And kapag perfect correlation, ito ay 1. Positive or negative 1. Perfect correlation. Ang scattergram ay ginagamit din as a measure of correlation. It is used to measure the relationship of two variables when the total number of n or the total number of cases is equal to or greater than 30, or this is applicable to large number of cases. All right. Now, let's go into the standard scores. Hindi. Bakit? Okay, yeah, sorry. Ha? Ito, yung binabanggit, okay na po ba? My audio is clear, Kiana, can you confirm?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, sige. We continue. Sorry kasi may sumisingit na trabaho. Sige. Ang standard scores again, pag sinabi natin na standard scores, ito po ay ginagamitan ng criteria and norm reference grading po tayo, percentile. Tells the percentage of the examiners that lies below or one's score. Pag Z-score naman tells the number of standard deviation equivalent to a given row score. Simple lang yung formula ng Z-score. Z is equal to X, capital X minus the small letter x divided by the standard deviation, where the capital letter X referring to the row score, small letter x referring to the mean, and the SD referring to the standard deviation. So sample computation natin, ang Z-score kapag ang X ay the row score, ang mean ay 45, ang standard deviation ay 5. So we have 35 minus 45 divided by 5, that is negative 10 divided by 5. Ang Z-score po natin ay negative 2. Further computation ay ilalagay natin kay T-score, wherein the T-score ay may formula na 50 plus 10 multiplied by the Z-score. So gamit ang computation natin kanina na meron tayong negative 2, meaning 50 plus 10 multiplied by negative 2, that is 50 plus negative 20 or will give you positive 30. Yan ang ating T-score computation. Okay? So ang Z-score at ang T-score, ang tinatawag po natin dyan ay mga tinatawag natin na standard scores. Okay? Maliwanag po ba? Are we clear on that? Ito session 5, hindi ko na ito gagamitin dahil alam naman natin na bigay ko na yung comparison naman ng norm reference at saka yung criterion reference grading. Okay? Merong mga ginagamit dyan ng mga terms. Anyway, this will be given naman to you. Ang gusto ko lang na emphasize mamaya ay pagdating po dito kay assessment in the K-12 curriculum, you really just have to read on the DepEd orders na nakasama, no? Although merong mga nilagay na ako dito pero hindi po ito yung pinaka-latest na, no? May mga nadagdag na po ito under the K-12 curriculum. Okay, ano ba yung mga characters ng assessment in the K-12 curriculum? Unang-una, ito ay holistic, ito ay standards-based, meron tayong tinatawag na mga performance standards, meron tayong tinatawag na content standards. So, content at saka performance standards ay nakapaloob po sa ating DepEd order na may kinalaman sa assessment in the K-12 curriculum. So kung gusto niyo pong malaman yung iba pang mga ano dyan, you can have to download yung ating DepEd order. Ito, nakalagay naman dito yung salient ng DepEd order number 8, series of 2015. So yan, no, yung mga terms na ginagamit natin. Ginagamit yung cognitive process dimensions, and then nandyan pa rin yung comparison between the formative and the summative test. Under the DepEd order number 8, ang components ng summative assessment ay written work, sa performance task, at saka yung tinatawag natin na quarterly assessment. Okay? Ayan. Any questions? May tanong? May tanong. Okay, wala nang tanong. Okay. 62 strong. Sige, magtanong. Meron pa kayong time para kung merong mga areas na gusto nyong ma-emphasize. Kasi hindi ko alam kung anong nangyari sa inyong AL1, AL2. Magkakaiba kayo ng experience. Let me just siguro clarify things kung alin yung mga kailangan nyo talaga or mga areas na hindi nyo masyadong naintindihan. At yun na ang bibigyan po natin ng emphasis. Okay, go ahead. LV.
Sir, yung sa item analysis po.
Anong problema kay item analysis? Have you tried doing that? Hindi, LB.
Sir, ni-report ko po noon pero hindi ko po maalalang pinag-solve po kami.
Okay. Ang item analysis, bibigyan ko lang ng viewpoint yan, ano? May dalawa ka lang kailangan na intindihin dito kay item analysis. Hindi nyo kailangan na i-review lahat yung procedure. Yung binanggit ko na UL method, hindi nyo naman, I don't think na pagkukomputin kayo doon kasi Kung meron man, ang based on experience na nakikita ko at sa mga feedback na nakikita ko from yung mga naunang mga nag-exam ng NET, they are not really they're not really giving them the time or the data, and they needed to compute based from the data. Hindi ganun yung nangyayari. But rather, they are given the values, and you're going to interpret the values. Kanya nga dito kay item analysis, ang pwede niyong bigyan dyan ng emphasis ay yung interpretation ng index of discrimination at saka yung index of difficulty. Dalawa lang naman yon. Okay? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng difficulty index? The difficulty level of the test item, either it is too easy or too difficult. So how will you determine if it is too difficult? Ang kanyang difficulty index ay 0.25 and below. Pag too easy naman, 0.75 and above ang kanyang values. Okay? Kapag discrimination index naman, tandaan ninyo, ang working meaning, ang working definition ng tinatawag nating discrimination index. Pag sinabi mong discrimination index, yung in layman's term, hindi madaling mahulaan yung tanong mo. Okay? Ganun yung meaning nun, no? Hindi siya madaling mahulaan. Because it can discriminate those who can really answer the question based on their knowledge, and those that were able to answer the question based on luck or based on probability. Okay? Yun yung discrimination index. Kaya nga, kung ang tanong mo ay madaling mahulaan, ibig sabihin nun, mababa ang discrimination index mo. Okay? Pero kung tama yung discrimination index mo, ibig sabihin po nun, maganda yung pagkakasulat ng iyong tanong. Hindi madaling hulaan. At malalaman lamang na ang tamang sagot kung alam mo talaga yung competence na minimeasure or yung content na tinutukoy. Okay ba? Are we clear? Kasi yung discrimination index, para mong sinasabi, ganito yan eh. Okay. Meron kang upper group. Okay? Yung upper group, sila yung mga matataas yung mga nakuha. And then meron ka ding lower group. Okay? Meron kang lower group. Ito yung mga mabababa yung nakuha. Ang discrimination index ng iyong tanong ay may problema kapag mas marami from the lower group ang nakakuha ng tamang sagot kaysa sa mga nasa upper group. Nakuha niyo ba? Di ba sino ba dapat ang makakakuha ng tamang sagot? Yung mga magagaling, yung mga matatalino, merong nakakuha talaga based on analysis. Okay? Kasi sila yung nasa upper group mo eh. So meaning, if your question elicited more correct responses coming from the lower group than the upper group, may problema yung tanong mo. Either nahulaan, madaling hulaan ng mga hindi nagbabasa or ng hindi talaga nag-aral, at napakahirap na sagutin on the part ng mga nag-review talaga. Meaning confusing. Either yung pagka-phrase mo ng tanong ay may problema at nilito mo yung mga talagang nag-a-analyze na mga estudyante. At dahil nalito mo na sila, mali na yung sagot nila. Okay? Yan ang ibig sabihin ng discrimination index. In the item analysis, yun lang po ang kailangan yung maintindihan. You have to differentiate between, you have to distinguish between index of discrimination and the index of difficulty. Okay, good. Ano pa? Magtanong na kayo ngayon dahil sa susunod na meeting ninyo, ang ibibigay ko na po ay, ano nang ibibigay ko? Ang ibibigay ko na po sa inyo ay yung test questions na.